Okay, so we are now looking at aggregate planning, which is one of the cardinal topics in production and operation management. Now, aggregate planning has two major strategies, but in general, aggregate planning looks at the following: the number of workers required in production. It also looks at the production hours required. It also looks at the number of workers hired, the number of workers laid off, as well as the overtime units and overtime cost, the production units required, the number of workers that are supposed to be laid off, the overtime units, the subcontracting units, and then also the stock out cost or stock out units. These ones, you'll be able to understand them as we look at an example. But now, in aggregate planning, there are two major strategies. We have the first one is the chase strategy. Now, this is a strategy where we are looking at hiring and firing workers. So there are two strategies that are used in aggregate planning. First one is chase strategy or matching demand. So this is a strategy where the firm vary the size of workforce in order to have a production rate that matches demand. So in short, under chase strategy, for chase or matching demand, so chase strategy, you don't want to maintain the size of workforce at a company. Okay, it's dangerous for an employee because you not have a stable income. So you only engage a worker when you need that work. So here you have under chase strategy, you vary workforce. Okay, so this one you vary workforce, as well as the you vary production. So how do we vary workforce? By hiring and firing. That is hiring and firing. That is what goes on here. So hiring workers, as well as the laying of workers. Okay, so firing workers, hiring the same as the firing the same as laying off. Okay, so these are what is involved in the chase strategy. So when computing the costs involved in chase, so the costs are only three costs that are involved. So costs involved, we have the first one is hiring cost. So we have hiring cost. There are only three costs, so we have hiring. Okay, so we have hiring cost. Then you have layoff cost. So layoff cost. And then the last one is a straight time cost. Okay, so the last one here is straight time cost, which is as well as the other term that we use for this one is the straight time cost or regular time cost. So straight time or regular time or regular time cost. So these are the three costs that are involved in this kind of strategy, which is a chase strategy. All right. So here there is no overtime. So under this one, we have no overtime. When you know that it's peak period, it's a festive season, people will need the soft drinks. You hire as many workers as possible as a company. So you are going to incur the overtime, that is hiring cost. Okay, you don't want to maintain, for this strategy, you don't want to maintain the size of workforce. You only need to tell the maid that don't come and work. I'll be informing you when to come and work. So that maid or a garden boy will not have a stable income. You pay him as when he comes for work. So, which is dangerous for an employee. Okay, so the overtime cost, you may need someone when you may need someone at the time you need to have a service. That's all. When that time is over, you may not need. That's a chess strategy. It's very, very difficult for someone to plan. So overtime cost. So here under chess, you have hired as many workers as possible, or you can fire workers. So these are the costs that are involved in chess strategy. So no overtime cost, no subcontracting. Okay, so no subcontracting, because you would have actually have hired as many workers as possible. So there's no need for the company to say they cannot meet the demand. If they know that the demand is going to pick up in a certain period, then they should know that they need to hire as many workers as possible. They go in the field and look for workers who can come and work at that organization. All right. So now, this is it about what we have looking at chess. So these costs are not involved in the chess strategy. The only aspect that is involved is the value workforce by hiring. Okay, so by hiring and firing workers. So this is about, so here we produce for chess strategy, we produce as per demand. So chess produce as per demand. So here we just produce as per demand. So the units that are demanded, those are the units that we need to actually what? Produce. Don't overproduce under the chess strategy. All right. So no inventory carrying costs, no carrying units. So no carrying units for this strategy. All right. Now, unless the company has safety stock, buffer stock that they are keeping to cushion on demand, unless safety stock is available, unless we have the buffer stock or safety stock, then this is the only time that we can have the carrying cost. All right, under this one. So this is only the chess strategy. Then we have the second strategy, okay, which is called pure level strategy. So pure level strategy. Okay, so this is a strategy where now you maintain state workforce and production. So here you're not different from the other first one. For this one, we are maintaining, you maintain workforce. So you maintain workforce. That is on this strategy. So maintain workforce, and you also maintain production. So maintain workforce and maintain production. If you want, this is a strategy where you don't want to have the situation where you need to fire and hire workers. You need to adjust, you have the stable workforce, so that it will be good for an employee, because an employee will know that at least he is assured of a salary at the end of the month. Unlike the chess strategy, because you be calling that worker at the time you need. All right, so now, so here, no hiring. No hiring. That's the difference between this one and the other one. No hiring and firing. Okay, so no hiring and laying off. So this is about what we have for this one. Then, if these state workers, they cannot produce to meet demand, so they can incur either overtime. You tell the workers that you haven't produced to meet the target, so you can have an overtime cost. Okay, so you can allow them, you choose which option will be cheaper for the company. So you can have option one, you can have an overtime, you tell them don't knock off. If this is not okay, because maybe it may be expensive, you just say knock off. You may subcontract. You get to subcontracting cost. So this is another part that we need to look at as we look at the aggregate planning. So you can incur the subcontracting cost. If this is also not okay for the organization to subcontract, maybe it may be expensive, you go for option 3, where you just tell customers that you don't have stock, so you are going to incur the stock out cost. So this is about what we have looking at this kind of planning level strategy, that is like the chase, the pure level strategy. So we can either go for overtime cost. We look at which one will be cheaper. You can subcontract and you can subcontracting cost, or you can just tell customers that you don't have stock, so the cost of losing business is what we call the stock out cost. So these are the costs that will be involved in this pure level strategy. All right, so now level production, our level production is actually going to be summation of demand. So our level production is simply equal to summation of demand. So estimation of demand minus the beginning stock. So demand minus on hand, which is the beginning stock, over the number of periods. So over number of periods. So this is about what is going on here. So this is only how you find the level production. Okay. So now we can check for this. So this is a strategy where the firm varies size of workforce in order to have the production rate that matches demand. The firm varies size of workforce simply by adding a laying of workers. As a result, incurring a laying of costs. So this strategy, the firm produces exact units to meet the demand, and there is no inventory carrying cost for this strategy unless the firm has a buffer stock. Chase strategy is used when the firm does not want to maintain the size of workforce, so use a chase strategy. All right, now the following are the costs of chase strategy: the hiring cost, the layoff cost, the straight time cost or regular production, where we look at the straight time cost is equal to production hours multiplied by the cost per hour. So these are the costs of the chase strategy. Then we have production hours multiplied by cost per hour. And then straight time cost also production units or multiplied by cost per unit. So this is how you find the straight time cost. Then here the firm does not incur the following costs: no subcontracting, no stock out, no overtime, because they would have hired as many workers as possible. So the reason why the firm does not incur the above costs is because they would have either hired or laid off workers and incurred hiring or laying off cost. Then the pure level strategy is a strategy where the firm maintains the steady workforce and production. They do not want to hire and fire workers. Okay, they have no hiring and laying of cost. The firm cannot produce to meet. If the firm cannot produce to meet demand, they can now incur either of the following costs. So not all of them at a time. So you can incur overtime cost because you tell workers not to knock off so that they can be paid overtime because they need to meet the target, because there are only 10 that you have employed, an example. So they don't have to go home. You tell them you You will knock off at 20 hours, 21 hours. You will knock off late to pay you for overtime. Subcontracting or stock out. So if the company has constant workers who cannot produce to meet the demand, then they can incur either of the above costs. Okay, so they cannot incur all of them. So you can incur either of the above costs. So a pure level strategy divided by demand minus beginning stock over a number of periods. How this pure level strategy is calculated. Summation of demand minus beginning stock over a number of periods. Here we cannot produce what is already there. Okay, so we cannot produce what is already there. And so that's why we're subtracting what is already there. Pure level strategy, you got to summation of demand minus beginning stock over a number of periods. So we cannot produce what is already there. That's why we are subtracting the beginning stock in the formula above. Then for the pure level strategy, the firm should choose the cheapest mode among the three provisions when they cannot produce to meet demand. Can they allow workers to continue working and incur overtime? Or can they go for subcontracting? They say no, the workers they should knock off so that they can subcontract, or they can should they incur the stock out cost. So this is just about what is one all about. So they cannot incur all the costs at the same time because they need to choose which is cheap among the above costs. So we need to look at an example. Sunshare Limited produces a variety of furniture products. All right. So we can look at this one. All right. So Sunshare is coming from the pamphlet. For those of the pamphlet, to be able to actually just go through this one so that you understand this one thoroughly. So we are simply saying Sunshare produces a variety of furniture products. The operation manager wants to prepare an aggregate plan for the next 5 months. The demand forecast is shown below. So from month 1 to month 5, we have the demand of 150, the demand of 170, the demand of 180, the demand of 160, and demand of 160 again. The cost of production per unit using a regular time, which is also called the straight time, is $50. Overtime is 75. So anything to do with overtime has to go for pure level strategy, because for chess strategy, there's no overtime. You can either incur hiring costs or you lay off workers if you don't need them in that particular month or week. And using subcontracting, this one also may apply, depending on which one will be cheaper among the three costs of overtime, subcontracting, or back order cost. Back order is the same as the stock out cost. So back order cost is at $60. The hiring cost per worker is $150. The firing or laying off cost is $200. Right. So now we go for the holding cost is $5. That is carrying cost or holding cost is $5. Currently, there are 12 workers that the company has actually employed, and each can produce 15 units per period. So we can know one person is able to make 15 units, and then we have 12 workers at now. Workers can be hired or fired, but at most, only 12 workers can be on the roll, meaning that in each month, we shouldn't have workers exceeding 12. Overtime capacity 30 units per period, and subcontracting capacity 10 units per period. Beginning inventory is 0, which is opening stock. No back order is allowed at the end of the 5th month. So meaning we shouldn't have a situation where we have the stock out units at the end of the month or the 5th month. Then when you're computing the number of workers needed, make sure you round up the whole number. So meaning we should just make sure that we have the whole number as we do this kind of computation. So these are the cardinal points that are supposed to be considered. Develop an aggregate plan using a chess strategy and determine the cost, the first one. Develop an aggregate plan using the level strategy and determine the cost, and which plan should be used. Okay, so which plan should be used? So we need to do the solution. So here we have the chess strategy, the month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The production is according to the production requirement, which is the same as demand. We have the 150 units. Now we know for sure that these are the demand units. So we need to know what we opened with. We opened with 0. And again, we are told that each worker is able to produce 15 units. So we can now see that we can find the number of workers using this information. Okay, so what we are simply saying is we can sort out this issue by simply saying chess strategy. We have the demand of 150 in week 1, 170 in week 2, 180 in week 3, 160 week 4, and 160 in week 5. The beginning stock is 0. So you produce as per demand. For this chess strategy, produce as per demand. So we're simply saying produce as per demand. So produce as per demand. So what we are simply saying now is that we need to check what we have here. So beginning is this, production this one. So these two, we can add them together. Beginning stock and plus the production minus the demand. So we can now, we are producing as per demand. So we are producing 150 units. Here there's no beginning stocks. These are zeros. That's why they are empties. Then what goes on here is that we are producing as per demand. So this is demand. So we produce whatever is required. We are producing whatever is required. And then here we're also producing whatever is required. Again, here we're producing whatever is required. So number of workers, each worker is able to produce 15 units. So we divide these by the number of what? By 15 units. So 150 units by 15, we are getting these ones. So these are the number of workers, all right? So we need to know why are we having a 10 here? We're having a 10 because 150 divided by 15, there are 10 workers because one worker is able to produce 15 units. And from here now, you know that we fired 2 because the current workforce was actually 12. So here we fired 2. Now, between month 1 and month 2, we hired 2 workers, because it has come to 12. Between month 2 and month 3, we didn't hire or lay off, the same. Here we laid off 1. In month 4, we laid off 1. Here we didn't hire or lay off in this month because we maintained workforce between month 4 and 5. All right, so this is about what we have concerning this test strategy. So now the number of workers hired in week 2 or month 2, is 2. So finding the hiring cost, we multiply the 2 workers by 150 hiring cost per worker, which was given in the question. 150, which is giving us a 300. Then here there was nothing because the workers hired was 0, 0. So it's just a $300 here that we have. The layoff was in week 1. We laid off 2 workers because the current workforce was actually 12, but we found 10. So we laid off 2. Now layoff cost per worker is actually 200. So we are going to have 400. As well as in week 4 or month 4, we laid off 1 worker. From this month 3 to month 4, we laid off 1 worker. By 200 is 200. So we're giving us a total of 600 here. Then the regular cost is production units multiplied by cost per unit. That's how we find the regular cost. Production units multiplied by cost per unit. The regular cost per unit was given in the question. The regular cost per unit was actually, it was $50, and then hiring cost was 150, firing cost was 200, current workforce was 12. The holding cost cannot apply on this one because we don't overproduce as we look at the chess strategy. So here we are going to have this regular cost is 150 by 50 throughout. We are getting that. So the total cost comes to this amount, this one. This is for hiring. This is for layoff. And then this other one is for regular cost. So the aggregate of this is giving us 41,900. This is the total cost of the chase strategy. So quickly, we can now get to the level strategy. So what is important here, we produce as per demand. All right, so getting down to level strategy, the formula is equal to level production, summation of demand, minus the beginning stock over number of periods. So you aggregate the demand, you want to find the average production, but you should subtract what is already there. So what is already there, they have told us in the question that what's already here is actually 0, because they're simply saying the beginning stock in this is 0. It has been mentioned, the beginning stock is 0. We don't have anything on beginning stock. So the formula for level strategy is the summation of demand minus beginning stock of a number of periods. So we are to add these figures minus 0 divided by 5. So we're producing 164 units. Now, under this one, we need to know that how many workers will be required for us to produce on average 164. So on average production of 164, we have to sort out this and find what would be our number of workers. Each worker is able to produce 15 units. So meaning that 164 divided by 15 is about approximately 11 workers. These are workers that are required. All right. So from here now, we need to start sorting out the table here. We have the demands, which are these ones. Then the beginning stock was 0, production was 164. So here we can aggregate the beginning plus what we have produced, this one plus this one, which is giving us 164 minus 150. We are getting 14 as the ending units or ending stock. Now this 14 should be the beginning stock. The ending stock is the beginning stock for the other period. So the 14 plus the production of 164 minus the demand of 170, we're having the physical carrying stock, physical stock is 8. Then the 8 plus 164 to meet the demand of 180, we have a shortage of, it's a -8. This -8 will be a backlog because we are under pressure. So we decide as management what to do, because we have a constant workforce, these ones, the constant workers. We don't want to hire or fire. So we can decide what will be happening. Then here, this one, beginning stock, these two, you add them, plus minus 160, we are getting -4. -4 should be the beginning stock for period 5. -4 plus 160 minus the 160, no backlog, so we have 0 at the 5th period. So this is what we have. So back order cost, here we don't have any back order, we don't have the stock out cost or stock out units, because we have the physical stock in months 1 and 2. We have a physical stock of 14 units and 8 units. And then getting down to week month 3 and 4, this is where we have the problem. We have -8 and -4 here on month 3 and 4. So we have the back. So we chose which one is cheaper. Back order cost per unit in the question was given. The back order cost per unit was actually $60. Then the overtime was the 80. The subcontracting was the 75 overtime. The subcontracting was 80. Among the 3 options, the cheaper one is the back order cost. It's better you just declare that you don't have stock, because if you allow the 11 workers to go overtime, it will be expensive. We'll be paying them 75 kwacha, all right, per person or per unit. Okay, that is the per unit, it will be 75 kwacha. Then subcontracting per unit is $80. Then the back order cost per unit is $60. So the back order cost is okay, because it's actually the smallest or the cheapest mode among the 3 that apply on the level strategy. So that's why we are using the 60 here. to multiply on the back order units because it was cheaper. It was the cheapest among the three options, be it overtime, subcontracting, or the stock out or back order. So that here we got these units that we are using. The 8 is this one, then the 4 is this one. So we need to sort out these problem in month 3 and 4. The problem needs to be sorted out in month 3 and 4 because we are the back order of 8 units in month 3, and we had the back order. Ending stock was negative, so we didn't have the physical stock. These ones which are positive, the physical stock were there. These ones were negative. And I have to make mention that the ending stock for a period is the beginning stock for the next period. So this is about what this one is all about. So after this now, here we have the physical stock that we have. We have 14 by 5. Okay, 14 by 5 holding cost per unit was $5. It was indicated here that was holding cost per unit was $5. So from here, we are able to actually multiply this and get the physical carrying cost or holding cost. Carrying cost and holding cost, they are the same. So here we had physical stock of 14 units by $5 per unit, 8 units by $5 per unit. So we got the $110. The back order cost was $720 because we had the problem in month 3 and 4. Then getting down to the regular cost, it is the regular cost on this one is production units that we are producing. The average we are producing is 160 units, but to produce a unit, we are saying on a regular basis, it is $50 per unit. So from here, we are now able to compute the total. So here 164 by 50 throughout, it was 164 production units. Throughout, it was the level production of the same amount. So we have this one, so it's coming to 41,000. But of course, under this one, why are we having 11 workers? This study does not require the firm to fire anyone. But by the virtue of computing this one, we found 164 units. The required number of workers was 11. But in the question, they are mentioned that the current workforce was 12 workers. So what they did was they fired one person and maintained 11. So for this reason, we are going to incorporate the firing cost that the company incurred by letting the one employee leave. So the total cost will be back order cost, which is 720, the carrying cost of 110, the regular cost of this is regular cost of 8,200 by the total here, which is 8,200 by how many they are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 5, which this one gave us 41,000. So this one is giving us 41,000. So from this 41,000, we can now add this 41,000, the carrying cost, and then the back order cost, and the layoff cost for this one person, which will give us the $42,030. So now we have to, since there are 12 workers and remained with 11 workers, it means that one worker was fired. So the test strategy should be used in this case because it has the least cost. Okay, so what we are saying now is we compare the cost of the pure level, which is $42,030, that is $42,030, and then the other one was the other strategy gave us $41,900. So this is what this aggregate planning is all about. It has two strategies that needs to be understood: the chase strategy and the level strategy. So unless there are any questions, the time allocated was 30 minutes. Unless there are any questions, so it's just a matter of going through these two strategies, which one requires hiring and firing, and which one requires maintaining workforce. So we can end the class for now.